All right, it is 5:30 p.m. So we are going to go ahead and call this meeting to order. Welcome everybody to our regular board meeting for Vancouver Public Schools. It is our September regular business meeting. Before we get started, I wanted to share a few thoughts and reminders. As this is a business meeting, we do expect those in attendance to conduct themselves in a respectful way. Interruptions can make it difficult for us to stay engaged and focus on the business at hand and can be distracting to others. So we would ask that you not interrupt the meeting. But if there is an immediate need that you have, such as an audio concern or question, you quietly move to the back and let one of our staff members know. Also, as a reminder, there is a designated space for any video recording and/or media. We do want our boardroom to be a welcoming, safe space for any and all of our community members and guests. We want anybody who attends our meetings or anyone who addresses the board during the meetings to feel that they can do so no matter who else is in attendance. That is the reason why we've asked in the past for our audience to refrain from clapping, cheering, or commenting while others give public comment, whether you are in support of or against. We do recognize that there are diverse beliefs and feelings across the stakeholders in our district, but the one thing that we have in common is that we want to do what's best for our children, and we are here today to work towards their future. With that being said, we will get started with our business meeting and items on our agenda, and we are going to start with roll call. Director Decker.
Here.
Director Sproul.
Here.
Director Zavala.
Here.
And Director Smith. Here. And I am also here, so we are all in attendance. The first item on our agenda is our superintendent report. I'm going to turn it over to our superintendent, Dr. Snell.
Thank you, Director Barros. Pretty short superintendent report this evening. Make sure I got the slides up and that our Zoomers are able to see it. First of all, the governor announced that the emergency proclamation will end on October 31st. And so we are awaiting some guidance from DOH and the Office of Superintendent of Public Instruction, but we'll start scaling back some of the requirements we anticipate. So that's good news. We welcomed over 20,000 students back, and it's hard to believe that this is our third week of school already, our first full week. So lots of activities, lots of stuff going on, always some challenges to navigate as we return to the school year. But all in all, just great support from students and families, and staff are doing an amazing job. I just featured a couple of new facilities here in the slide. On the top is Vita, with students attending there yesterday from Franklin Elementary and Minnehaha Elementary. And then down below is the new Black Box Theater at VSAAA. So pretty cool that those spaces are being used. I'm going to turn it over to Brett to just do a couple of items related to the budget. So Brett, you mind? And maybe just do it from there. It's short tonight. So
sure, thank you. So yeah, the first update we wanted to provide is around enrollment, and the relevant, I guess, baseline information that we're comparing to is our budget, which, as we all know, drives the significant portion of our budgeted revenue. So the very positive information to share is that based on our early projections, we could be as high as 700 over budget, 700 student FTE over budget. Again, we only have one of 10 months of count data, so we're doing some projections and extrapolations based on historical trends, and we'll see whether they hold true as the months roll out. But again, early returns are that's a very positive trend for us financially, as well as students accessing our program. Move on. The other thing that is very relevant as we prepare for the spring, specifically February 14th, is when we are scheduled to possibly put a renewal levy on the ballot. Again, this levy is the Education and Operations levy that's been in place for decades and decades. The last term was a 4-year term, so that would be expiring at the end of 2023. So the preferred ballot period is the February 14th, 2023. Preliminary conversations and planning suggest that another 4-year term is preferred. And then again, just to orient folks to kind of where we're at, we've had a lot of movement around levies as a result of the McCleary Supreme Court decision. Currently, the legal limit that we can ask voters to consider is $2.50 per $1,000 of assessed value. Where we've been in the last several years since McCleary peaked in 2021 at $2.01 per thousand for the education and operations levy. And the total of all of the levies, which include the technology and the bond, was $3.71. We're beginning planning for a public survey of random phone survey, as well as some other tools to get additional feedback, but it appears that the early preferences and conversations with the board would focus something just south of $2 per thousand in the education and operations levy. And that would put the total school rate under $3.50. So that's kind of where the planning and conversations have centered so far. Again, there will be additional opportunities to gather additional perspectives and feedback before November would be, the November board meeting would be the target for the resolution to put the measure on the ballot itself. That's all I had to share.
Thank you, Brett.
Mhm.
Also open it up to any comments or questions from the board.
I just want to chime in and say thank you for all the legwork you've done, Brett, so far. I know as we prepare for this, it's a replacement levy, and I think that's always important to remind our community. And these local dollars do support a lot of our extra activities that is not funded by the state, extra staffing levels. So it's a priority for me to recognize the generosity that our community has always supported our schools, but wanting to be less than where we previously were. And in light of kind of what's going on post-pandemic, the economic outlook and so forth, of giving a little bit of a break to our community.
I'll keep us moving. The last section that I have to update the board on is related to strategic planning. And in our study session in August, we had our potential partners in this work present to the board. And I just pulled a few slides from that presentation and would encourage anybody that would want to see the presentation in full to go back to the August study session video. But really, we're looking at a process where we engage the community and look ahead 5 years from now, and what are the priorities of the community, and how can we best deploy the resources of the district to meet the needs of the students and the community as a whole. We paused the strategic planning process in 2020 was then the last one kind of expired, given where we were at with COVID and leadership transitions. And so we're excited to get back into this. Really, some of the priorities that we've heard from the board are to just recognize that we want high access and making sure that our students feel connected to the district. Obviously, prioritizing finite resources is always difficult. Making sure that the process is really engaging with the community and lots of opportunities to listen to stakeholders' perspectives. And then as a result of that feedback, define some next steps collectively that you would like us to focus on in the years ahead. Just a quick timeline for the public. We are in the summer, we did a lot of planning. We're looking in the fall and the winter to do the bulk of the community engagement and analysis of that engagement, and then probably loop back to the community for additional input as we dive deeper, or we find certain groups aren't as represented in the feedback in the first 2 rounds. And then in the spring and summer, we'd be looking at developing a plan and articulating the goals and giving the public an opportunity to comment and see those before the board would officially say this is the strategic plan moving forward. And then finally, this would kind of wrap up at this time next year where we would launch that formal plan and look ahead, which is, it's crazy to say things like 2028 or 2020, it seems like a really long ways away, but here we are in 2022. So excited for the work ahead, and just wanted to bring that back to the board's attention in our regular meeting. And with that, I think that is it for the superintendent's report this evening. So I'll turn it back to you, Director Barrows.
Thank you, Dr. Snell. Next on our agenda is audience participation. This is where we have citizen comments. Citizen comments is the time in our meeting where board and administrative staff like to hear comments from the public. If you wish to address the board and did not have an opportunity to sign in at the start of the meeting, please do so now. Because most matters require fact-finding and review, the board is not able to respond to any public comments made at this time. Additionally, the state's Open Public Meetings Act restricts deliberation on topics that have not been placed on the publicly noticed agenda in advance. If follow-up action is necessary, the board will ask the superintendent to work with administrative staff to consider the information and respond accordingly. As a regular business meeting of the board, we do expect the audience to conduct themselves professionally and courteously, and speakers are expected to be respectful. The board asks that personnel complaints be submitted in writing. Disruptive conduct may cause the meeting to be adjourned and audience members be removed. We ask that you approach the podium and state your name for the record. Also, please state your affiliation with the district, and you will have 3 minutes to make your comments. If you hear a chime, please conclude your remarks. If you do have materials or additional comments you would like the board to review, please hand them to staff in the back of the boardroom. This information will be provided to the superintendent and board. We appreciate, listen, and care about the broad range of perspectives in our community, and thank you for your comments. And I believe we do not have any Zoom participants tonight. So we are going to move to our in-person public comments. And first on the list is Katie Bauer.
Good evening, Katie Bauer, community member. The VITA Learning Lab. Don't know how many of you are aware of this new school, this new campus. VITA stands for Vancouver Innovation, Technology and Arts. The website is great. There's a brief video that shows the school and playground with kids singing. It looks like there's a large staff at the school, and the website says it's for project-based learning for 2nd through 5th graders. From what I can tell, it's a lab school where students from all VPS sites, the elementary school sites, will visit for 5 days during the year. The website does not give any detailed information about curriculum. One parent has asked the principal at VITA for a copy of their child's grade curriculum, but hasn't heard back yet. I only discovered the school existed by having other parents tell me they heard about it from their children or their schools. Some did receive a message electronically. Then a parent found that their child brought home an opt-out permission slip for the lab field trip. Another parent only discovered their child was going to attend VITA by receiving a notification asking if their child wanted a hot or cold lunch next week, and they needed to know that day so that the lunch staff would know how to pack the lunches. There was one teacher who took the time to send home to parents a detailed letter. It was a great letter, and I give this teacher major bonus points. She even listed out like what clothes to wear on what day, because one day they were going to have this outdoor activity. So that class and those kids and parents were really given a lot of information about what was happening. But it just seems like a lot of other parents were confused and lost and didn't even know what was going on. So my questions are, is each teacher responsible for informing parents and families about VITA? If this is so, then why? This is now one more burden we're putting on our teachers to be in charge of making sure the families know what's happening, and especially about the opt-out permission slip. I think the district would coordinate and send out multiple district-wide announcements to help the teachers with this new program. The district has so many ways to communicate: letter home, district-wide email, school-wide email, texting, flash alerts. If a parent is unaware that their child is leaving their home campus and then tries to reach their child during the time they are at VITA, I think that this would be a bit concerning for the parent. I just find it odd that the district is comfortable taking a child off campus to another VPS campus and never be required to inform the parent of the whereabouts of their child. So then who is liable if something were to happen without a signed parent permission slip? Has there been an opt-out permission slip before for other field trips in the past when the child leaves their home campus? And then lastly, is there a social emotional learning component to any of their curriculum? Because there are parents that opt out of this as well. And are the parents at VITA going to be aware of that opt out? VITA sounds like an absolutely fabulous, wonderful opportunity. But the parents I've been in discussion with are scrambling, trying to figure out what this new program is all about. Granted, maybe some parents didn't look at the electronic notifications that were sent out or missed a piece of paper coming home. And that's why multiple forms of communication are needed. So I just hope that the district can support the teachers more, because I just feel like that's what I'm hearing is the teachers and parents are scrambling. Thank you.
Thank you, Katie. Next on the list is Sally Snyder.
My name's Sally Snyder, and I'm a parent. I'd like to start off by talking about the revisions for policy 3432 titled Emergencies on the agenda. This draft policy language states it covers basic school functional drill responses for shelter in place, lockdowns, and evacuations. In section 2A drills, shelter in place, it states, employees and students will receive instructions so that they will be able to remain inside and take the necessary steps to eliminate or minimize the health and safety hazard. In section B, titled lockdowns, it states, isolate students and employees from threats of violence. My question to the board is, how do we isolate students and teachers from threats of violence when the classroom doors do not lock from inside the classroom? The board president was kind enough to allow a group of us parents to meet with facilities staff. Thank you. They were more than accommodating and answered our questions regarding the magnet strips the district has purchased for $1.50. Each to be put in place of classroom door handles that do not lock from inside the classroom. We are talking about thousands of classroom doors throughout the district that do not lock from inside the classroom. I understand from facilities that it will take at least this entire school year for the fire marshal to just survey doors at each school. I am concerned that the district will not be changing out the doorknobs on the doors the fire marshal deems can have real locks put on them. Why are we waiting another year to do this and not changing out the door handles as they are assessed? Because it will cost $200 to $1,500 a door lock? So instead, the district is placing a magnet about the size of a bookmark that goes inside the door jamb to keep the door unlocked. If there's an active shooter in the school, the teacher is required to open the door, remove the magnet, and then shut the door. This is a Band-Aid to a huge safety issue. Would you keep the front door of your home unlocked with a magnet in the door jamb? And when you heard shots being fired, would you open up your front door, remove the magnet, and then close the door to keep yourself safe? Would you do this in your own home? The board needs to review the budget and allocate funds to immediately change out thousands of locks within all VPS schools to keep teachers and our kids safe. When a teacher is required to open their classroom door when they hear gunfire or otherwise during a shelter-in-place lockdown, that is not isolating students and employees from threats of violence. Thank you.
Thank you, Sally. Next on the list, we have Karen Erickson.
My name is Karen Erickson. I'm a resident of Vancouver, and as a mother and grandmother, I am concerned how decisions are being made around the cancellation of the which is the highly capable program for sixth graders at VPS, without including all vital people. In this case, notably, I think key players were definitely kept out of the loop, such as elementary school teachers and principals, those who spent the last 6 years working with these kids. And even more importantly, the parents. For these families to learn about how honors English, math, and world studies were dropped upon receiving their child's schedule, they were very misled when they were told We don't offer those classes in sixth grade. What they failed to mention was that the school district removed them this year without notifying them. While I'm happy to hear that the school district did decide to reinstate both honors English and world studies, it's the math component that still concerns me. I request that you add, which does not require any extra funding, an accelerated sixth grade math class. Currently, the teacher must teach to the majority of the sixth graders. At week 3, this sixth grade class, there's such a spectrum. They have second and third grade level of math, and then they have the accelerated group. I would think it would be very hard to teach a class like that. And they have to teach it because we need to include our kids with math. They need to know math. Understand, kids who were once in the accelerated math class are now getting frustrated and wondered what the need is to be in this class. I want to say kids at all levels need to be engaged in learning. Become inspired. Kids need to succeed in math. This accelerated math class in turn gives them the best opportunity to get scholarships and potentially be the first from their families to attend college and create a solid financial future. Lastly, I recommend that there be a designated field contact at the school for issues that parents or students might have with the high cap program. Let's not hold back our kids. Challenge them. We need the accelerated sixth grade math program to continue. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Next is Richard Erickson.
Rick Erickson, Vancouver resident. On any given day, a new problem in our public schools seems to be in the news. One must understand there are a multitude of reasons for this, but a primary reason is that we, the people, those of us who voice our concerns, are no longer being represented by our government. When did we stop recognizing that we are a constitutional republic? The founding fathers wanted to make it difficult for one person, party, or group to get control of the government. To achieve these goals, the founding fathers proposed a national government where power was divided between 3 separate branches of government: the executive, the legislative, and the judiciary. That's the goal of our constitutional republic that we have been living under for the last 234 years. Do we still teach this in our schools to our children? Do we stray from our traditional time-tested democratic values when a small segment of the population represented by one political party went woke? Have teacher unions been overly influenced by one political party? Why are our children being indoctrinated with woke ideology? Instead, as recently as 2019, teachers were promoting and focusing on STEM curriculum. You remember STEM, don't you? Science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. Just going back to the basics would go far to prepare our children for success after graduation. Do we need to be graduating social justice warriors that can't find employment after graduation? The corruption surrounding the COVID policies are far-reaching and well-documented. Many of them were not based on science at all, much to the detriment of everyone. The children have been negatively impacted the most. You know what I'm talking about. The social engineering agenda being thrust upon the schools was and is detrimental. I'm sure you're familiar with the many reasons parents are leaving Washington State public schools. The Washington State Caseload Forecast Council reported that over the last 2 years, more than 41,000 families are pulling their children out of Washington's public school system. The council's research says this number is not temporary and that most of these families will never likely return to the public schools. Jay Inslee on August 18th last year mandated that all teachers and school personnel in Washington State, including coaches, bus drivers, and volunteers, will need to be fully vaccinated as a condition of employment. He made that mandate permanent July 1st of this year for another year. Fact remains, these decisions with vast impact on individuals and businesses were made behind closed doors in the executive branch, and a coercive mandate such as this should not be enforced. It's unconstitutional.
Thank you, Richard.
Thank you.
Next on the list, we have Bob Friedland.
My name is Bob Friedland, and I'm a member of the Clark County Developmental Disabilities Advisory Board. I am an older, retired, white, cis male with curly gray hair and glasses. And I thank the Vancouver Public School Board for the opportunity to speak today. The Developmental Disabilities Advisory Board is charged with providing community leadership to improve the efficiency and effectiveness of developmental disabilities programs. The board then advises and makes recommendations to the Clark County Council on issues and services related to developmental disabilities. I'm here today to share that October is National Disability Employment Awareness Month. As part of the celebration, the advisory board hosts the Developmental Employment Awareness Awards. I misspoke, the Disability Employment Awareness Awards. These awards honor people with developmental disabilities in Clark County who contribute to a dynamic, productive, and inclusive workforce. Many of the nominees and award winners are former students in our local schools and districts. The celebration also recognizes the extraordinary efforts of large and small businesses who employ people with developmental disabilities in our community. This year, the hybrid event will be on Wednesday, October 5th from 4 to 6 p.m. The live in-person event will be held at Clark College in Geyser Hall, which is located at 1933 Fort Vancouver Way in Vancouver. While this is a free public event, we are asking for registration so that we may know how many people to expect in person. The event will also be live streamed for those who prefer to watch from home. For registration information, please call 564-397-2130 or send an email to dd.programs at, I misspoke again, dd.program@clark.wa.gov. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Bob. Next up, we have Michelle Lubisic. Did I say that right? Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay.
Hi, my name is Michelle Lubisic, and I have been volunteering at Marshall Elementary for the past 10 years. Prior to that, I taught middle school at Lynn Middle School in Las Cruces, New Mexico. And prior to that, after that, I taught the Mount Carmel High School math in the Poway Unified School District in San Diego, California. I am a product of the public school system and a success story, coming from a home with an alcoholic and a drug-addicted, abusive father, and eventually a single mom. My brother and I were identified as gifted and talented learners. It was our public school system that saw to it that we received an education that prepared us for college. I can proudly say that coming from a low-income household, an abusive environment beyond what most people could even fathom, we were both first-generation college graduates. I have my master's in special education, and I'm used to teaching students on both ends of the spectrum and realize that they cannot be taught at the same time in the same classroom with the same material. We also use the quote unquote academic prep for our math and as well as our English because they don't usually qualify for both. I'm absolutely thrilled with the new math pathways for these kids. I love that they have an extra support and that all the kids are starting with the 6th grade curriculum level math curriculum. I have 2 older boys, one being in high school, that I saw how skipping ahead in math at the middle school created gaps that we needed to supplement come high school. So having all the students cover the 6th grade curriculum is very important. However, there is one component that is missing at this time, and that is the option for the higher achieving math students to have an accelerated grade 6th grade curriculum taught to them. These kids have taken an end of the year 6th grade course assessment scoring from 40 to 60%. That means that they have, on average, mastered half of this course already. Their needs look completely different than the general ed class, which is composed of students testing as low as late 1st grade and up. Please let us not lose focus on what we're trying to accomplish here. Previous students were showing gaps in their curriculum, but these kids, they will continue to have that gap and lose an entire year of learning. I could show you examples of how even if this math pathway began with the 6th grade curriculum, which they are not, that the advanced learners can review, keyword being review, adding, subtracting, dividing, and multiplying to solve for X in one day, where the other students are being introduced to this for the first time, it would need at least one day to learn the concept of just addition. That means at the end of the week, the advanced learners would have reviewed 20 concepts to the other class being introduced to 5 in 1 week. Please do that math. That's 4 times quicker. I speak for my students, both the higher and the lower end, that I've known since they were in kindergarten and have worked with them very hard to get them to where they are today. These kids, like me, come from low economics, first generation, and ethnicity. Please don't put up barriers for them to be successful. They have overcome so much already, more than you can ever imagine. And giving the accelerated kids an extra packet on the side, that's not what the law RCW 28A 185020, which funds our schools for their highly capable learners, was intended for, nor is that differentiated math. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Michelle. Next up, we have Peter Lubasich.
Hello, my name is Dr. Peter Lubasich. I am a community member, a pediatric dentist. I am the Free Clinic of Southwest Washington Dental Director. So thank you for allowing us to rent space from you guys, because otherwise we wouldn't have our clinic. And for the past 18 years, I have been a clinical professor at OHSU, as well as a research mentor for the residents there. I am a product also of the public school system. And I think, again, this math program that Dr. Snell has come up with is wonderful. I have a twin brother who skipped algebra as a freshman, went straight to geometry, and I took algebra because I didn't feel confident. He ended up going all the way through calculus, but didn't pass the test to get the credit. We ended up both taking it in college and both got A's. So, I mean, it wasn't that he failed, but it obviously made a difference. I think that I went through getting a good foundation. One of the pushbacks that I've heard for offering an accelerated math class at the 6th grade level is that more kids qualify for the accelerated math in 7th grade. As I work with my researchers, one of the errors in this logic and any study that supports it is that the bar for qualification is lower due to the control study group being held back. And when you hold back the control study group, you cannot use them as a valid comparison anymore, a valid source of comparison. So that is not a valid argument, in my opinion, for not having this class. One of the wonderful aspects of our district is that, and the school board especially, is that you have made a concerted effort to help the underserved, made of the ethnic minority, the low income, the first generation college learners, the learning disabled. Marshall is what I'm most familiar with because all of my kids have gone through there. Feeds into MAC, which is Marshall, which is a Title I school. 86% of the kids are below the poverty line. I'm sure you all know these statistics. But by not offering this accelerated math, you are holding back this underserved population. Lastly, I always check my daughter's homework. So on Thursday, I went through her backpack to get her homework so we could look it over. And when I got to her backpack, I found it all crunched up in a ball. So I unraveled it and I asked her why she had crumpled it up. And she said, well, I feel stupid having to learn times tables and money that I learned in kindergarten and first grade. And we went through the math, and it was asking a story problem of adding 12 plus 13, and another story problem that asked her to do 5 times 20. These are subjects that she has mastered long ago. You're discouraging, well, a child at 6th grade level is being discouraged. She does not enjoy math right now. That breaks my heart because she loves math and she's very good at it. The strength of any new program is its flexibility and its ability to adapt and to change. I would ask you to please be flexible, please adapt so that this program can become a great success and a model for other school districts. We have a tremendous opportunity in front of us, and all we're asking is just for a little revision to make this the best that it can be. So thank you very much for all your time and for all that you have volunteered, because as you can see, we try to get lots of people to come and speak, but there are very few who are willing to do so. So thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Next, we have Mark Hutton.
Hello, my name is Mark Hutton. I'm a parent. Michelle invited me to come. Same subject about math. My daughter Casey, during the pandemic, I always taught her to try to stay ahead of her class, do her work. If she does her work, there's going to be rewards at the end of it. You're going to be able to excel. You can help other kids. So it's very important for me to see her progress and achieve her goals. Right now, she's very frustrated about the math classes. She's just reviewing things that she's already gone through in 5th grade. So just the frustration of her seeing repeat and repeat and repeat. And I told her about the preparation, just be ready and be prepared through life and always try to stay ahead of the ball, that you'll succeed. I didn't go to college, and my goal is to have my daughter go to college, succeed with a nice career. It's very important to me to see her do that. It really hurts to see her frustration. I had learning disabilities growing up as a kid. I understand that there's kids that have or different levels. But we have to have that. I mean, that's just life. There's kids, they're going to have lower levels, and there's going to be kids, and that's life. And we have to learn that in life. If we don't learn that and we go into adulthood, we're going to be lost. So I'm pleading with you to bring back the higher math classes. Also, even with the music, she's very good at her music. She plays the trumpet. And it seems like she right now, we're starting all over again with the music courses. And I've talked to Mr. Norris about this. And I told him I would bring it up at the board meeting, that she's just doing that. Why? I don't understand why we had 5th grade music, and why isn't there 2 different levels of 6th grade music? We have 2 different time levels for the class. One should be excelled and one should be at the beginning. And she's just starting all over again. She's teaching kids how to play horn, basically all over again. It just seems like there's just a lot of wasted time going on right now. And these kids is critical, especially since we had the pandemic, that they spend every bit of time excelling and learning as much as they can. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark. Next on the list, I think it's Miriam Hutton.
Hello, good evening. I'm Miriam, and I'm a mom of a 6th grade. She brought home this paper today. This is her work from math. She's from sixth grade and it says 2 times 3 is 6. Some are like 5 divided by 3. I came from a third world country and I cannot remember having math this easy. I came from a third world country. So she brought this home today, and this is supposed to be USA. It's the greatest country in the world. It's supposed to be a lot better than a third world country. If the schools want equality, and if equality means dragging the kids that excel and putting them to the level of kids that don't do very good or are not very zealous, then I would say it's so wrong. That is not right at all. Me and my daughter were having video call with my family back home because my dad passed away a few days ago, and we would like to be with them virtually as much as possible. I'm actually with them virtually like almost 24 hours a day. So I showed this to my nieces and nephews who are in first grade and kindergarten, and they were just laughing away. It was very, very insulting. And like I said, this is supposed to be the best country in the world, the greatest country in the world. Could we please do something about it? I cannot even begin. I don't know what to say. Sixth grader, 2 times 3. Or 6 divided by 2. I don't know what else to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Miriam. Next is Leah Bay.
Hello, my name is Leah Bay, and I'm a Vancouver resident, and my friend Michelle, the Lubisiches. I highly agree with the 6th grade math class for highly capable students must be provided. It is imperative we add an accelerated math 6 class that actually covers the 6th grade standards in full. At week 3, this math 6 class is currently covering standards from 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade. Our accelerated are getting frustrated and wonder what the need is to be in this class. Obviously, not the appropriate placement for them. And lastly, why is there no one at the highly capable office fielding our concerns and here supporting these students' needs for us? Is that to protect them because we are clearly out of compliance, not offering these high cap students an appropriate math class? Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Leah. Next is Cecilia Lubisic.
Hello, I'm Celia Lubisic. I am a resident and a grandparent of 3 children in this district. I have grandchildren in 3 different states in 5 different school districts, and there's a common thread, and you began with it, President Barrows, that we want the best for all children. That's what we want for our students. And so I really have to say, tonight I want to leave you with a challenge. I want you to really think about if you are doing the best for all students. That means that, yes, what we're doing for those that are underachieving, that are students in immigrant families or for whom English is the second language, it's fabulous to see what your school district is doing. And with COVID, we know the challenges you're facing, just getting everybody back up to snuff this year. But what about the highly capable student? These are the students that can really make this district proud. And you know, we don't know who they all are. There are kids that have not been identified yet, but when you put so many students at so many levels in a classroom, the teachers will never have the time to discern that. It is absolutely not acceptable to give a 6th grader a packet for independent study, perhaps at high school, but not at 6th grade. Brooklyn explained to her mother that She had a packet, but when she had a question, her teacher couldn't answer it. So she tried to go on to the next page. I mean, it's incomplete learning because it's not being taught. This is a child trying to navigate it themselves. Don't lower the bar, raise the bar, find a way for all of these children to be successful. The children are very aware from kindergarten up of how they perform in the classroom. They know exactly who the smart child is, and they know if they're playing catch up. They know when the pencils go down and they're not even halfway through their work and they feel embarrassed. And so they just close their work and they're done. You've got to find a way to balance things out so that there isn't such an overload in the classroom. And from what I'm hearing tonight, this is not a financial request of any sort. This is a request for you to be flexible. You have 5 math classes and you probably have about 5 highly capable children in each class. That's one class. You could put all of them in one class and then take the rest of the kids and divide them among the others. I realize this is an administrative effort, but wouldn't it be worth it? Now you've got the kids that can move ahead as rapidly as they're capable of doing, and the children that need to be identified because they have potential. The teachers will have more time to work with them. I do believe it will free the teachers, as I was saying, to identify the kids that really do have the potential. For students for whom English is a second language, you know, math is the language without words. Don't handicap these kids. Let them go as far as they can go. I have a son-in-law in California. He is a college professor, but he was one of those kids who he was going to be a blue-collar worker. But he was identified by a teacher and he is where he is today. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Bobby Evenson. Were there any other signups after that? Okay. Okay, our last speaker.
My name is Bobby Evenson, and I am a parent of a student in the Vancouver public school system. I want this to be able to be seen. So this is off of the OSPI website. District-wide overall, students who are meeting standards posted on October 12th from 2021, which was collected in 2019. Before the pandemic. English, 53%, science, 44%, math, 42%. And this year posted, so a reflection of last year's, after the kids had been online for a year, but then back in school for a year. English, this is again, the overall students who are meeting standards in Vancouver Public School District. English 42.3%, science 39.7%, and math 29.4%. 21,911 students in our district. With these three things, English, science, and math, if a kid is proficient in these, the limits are endless. If we could teach 80% of our kids this, you know, they can read, they can research, they can be anything they want in this country. So, thank you.
Thank you, Bobby. And that is the end of our time for citizen comments. Next, we are going to move into some of our action items that we have on our agenda tonight. The first item that we have is approval of minutes. These are minutes from our, it looks like August, our various August board meetings. Do I have a motion?
I'll move.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any comments? All right, we'll put it to a vote. Director Decker,
Approve.
Director Sproul,
Approve.
Director Zabala,
Approve.
and Director Smith. Approve. And I also approve, so the motion passes. Next, we have our consent agenda. Our consent agenda includes items for instructional and administrative support services, as well as fiscal support services. These items are all kind of a batch of items. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions, comments about anything on the consent agenda? Okay, we will put it to a vote. Director Decker,
Approve.
Director Sproul,
Approve.
Director Zavala,
Approve.
and Director Decker. Or Director Smith. Sorry, approve. And I also vote to approve. I was keeping you guys on your toes. And so the motion passes. Next on the list, we have for regular business, we have some first readings.
Yeah, on the items today, there are a series of policy changes. The board has access and the public has access to these documents. As one of our public commenters referenced, one of the policies that's in here. First reading means that they're on the agenda today, and then they will come back in the October regular board meeting again for consideration. If there are potential changes or comments that the board directors would like to make, then staff are ready to receive those and amend accordingly. So I'm happy to go through each of those individually, or if you would like me to use them as a group and recognize that we're waiting for feedback if there is any direction from the board.
I don't have any questions. I know we went through a lot of these in our committee meeting. I appreciate the time spent doing that. Any questions? All right. Next on the list, we have Board of Directors report. Are there any items for the Board of Directors report? All right, with that.
I do, sorry.
Oh, yes,
Sorry.
go, sorry.
I got to attend Vita yesterday. Yes, and so it was great to see so many students and see the first day for Vita. And it was exciting also to see the staff. Excited to be there. It was a little bit of a whirlwind, but it was just nice to see how so many smiles on kids.
Is this the first week of Vita? Okay.
Yeah, it is. Yesterday was the first day. We had Minnehaha and Franklin Elementary that attended, and then today they had their field trip to Fort Vancouver, the actual fort, not the high school.
Wonderful. I'm excited to go and see that. Anything else? All right, with that, we are going to recess to an executive session for the purpose of its personnel to discuss the performance of a public employee, no action to follow. So when we reconvene, there won't be any action items. We will be adjourning at that point. So thank you guys for attending. Good to see faces in the audience. Our executive session will be about 45 minutes. All right, we are back from our executive session and we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.